In order to help students read and spell words, I focus on decoding and encoding strategies. Maybe because my parents are computer programmers and coding is always talked about at home, or maybe just because it's just a fancy word for reading and spelling. Decoding means reading, literally it means to undo the code or undo the markings that you see on a page. Encoding means to spell, or literally it means to make a code, to make a mark on the page. So when I'm working with students on decoding, one of the strategies I focus on is to box it up. I encourage students to box up prefixes and suffixes before they even read the word. So if it's on a list of page, or if there's a paper that they can actually do the marking, I have them box it up, and I tell them these boxes, they're getting shipped away, don't focus on them, just work on reading the base word. Once they figure out the base word, I say, oh yay, the boxes are delivered, now read the entire word. If the students are reading these words in a book, I just use the thumbs on both of my fingers to cover up the prefixes and suffixes. When students are encoding, I utilize a thing called word sums. I have them write a mathematical equation where they can write a prefix plus the base word plus the suffix. Or if there's multiple suffixes, they can write each suffix separately. And then they do an equal sign and write the actual full derivative or the full word. Now, another strategy I use when decoding is I work on Chunky Monkey. Chunky Monkey is a strategy that I want students to do in order for them to realize that some letters, some groups of letters, have more than one sound. In the English language, 1, 2, 3, or 4 letters can make one sound. So when there's a chunk of letters, I often utilize an underline. So if they're doing on a worksheet, they're reading words and they don't realize that the 2 E's make one sound, I would underline it and I would tell them the sound. Say E. When students are spelling, I use sound lines. I encourage students to write sound lines on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper, and then I say, now only write the letter or letters on each sound. And this forces them to hear every sound in a word and not skip a sound. Also, a final strategy for decoding that I really encourage is I often teach students that some letters have more than one sound. So for example, when a student comes across an A, there's actually 5 sounds it can make. The A can say ah like an apple, A like an acorn, ah like in watch, or like in above, or I like in shortage. So when I come across a letter that has more than one sound, I might have them mark it with a number, or we might create our own little markings for it. But for the most part, I just encourage them and teach them the sounds through flashcards. And then when they're reading, I say, try another sound. When they're stuck on one of the sounds, they need to flip it or try a different sound. Now, when they're spelling and they get stuck, I often have to teach them the one sound, and we focus on the different spellings and why you would use different spellings in that pattern, and what are the patterns that we see, what's coming before it or after it, what size of a word is it, and this really can help them spell. So that is a short video on my 6 most favorite strategies for decoding and encoding.